It's Saturday evening. It's time to talk about the very best comic books in the world this week. Once again, led by indies with very little help from DC and Marvel. And obviously, we got Drew here to talk about it. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing fantastic, Wes. It's a beautiful Saturday. We got college football, but let's take this halftime to talk about the best comics of the week.
Yeah, let's get into all these indie books before we have to deal with the one big two book that we actually have to recommend. Can you start anywhere else but Transformers number 12, Daniel Warren Johnson, writing, Jorge Corona on art. The big climax to really the second story they got in here, where you have Shockwave coming to Earth, draining Earth of all of its resources to convert it into Energon for Cybertron. Cybertron is going to come in and essentially take over the planet. We got double crosses, heroes from the Autobots doing things that you never could have imagined, but one man the entire time is the hero that we always knew he could be. Optimus Prime is the only one with the moral clarity to ever lead the Autobots. That's why he's the greatest Transformer of all times, having to make a very, very hard choice. This was a wild issue. It is action-packed from beginning to ending. So many big payoffs to things that we've been reading in on here. And then even Beachcomber gets a moment. Who would have thunk it?
Beachcomber has a badass moment toward the end. I thought that was great. But that's all I'm going to say about the book. I don't want to spoil what happens in this book because I want everyone to check this out. Transformers is arguably one of the best, if not the best book out there in the market right now, next to Conan. And like you said earlier, Wes, we see why when you say the word hero, Optimus Prime is the name that comes up. Optimus Prime is the true hero. He makes the sacrifices. He makes the play. He knows what needs to be done. He gets the job done when no one else has the fortitude to do it. And there's a big decision he has to make toward the end of this, where it's like, who are you going to go with? Which side are you going to take? And he takes a certain side. And yeah, let's just say it's not doesn't look too good for one side. But yeah, I highly encourage everyone to check this out. Arguably, probably the best book of the week. Everyone do check out Transformers.
Absolutely love this one. And we are saying goodbye to Jorge Corona when they announced he was going to be the guy replacing Daniel Warren Johnson as the artist in the book. Their styles don't really mesh. They don't really look alike, but he definitely made his style fit Daniel Warren Johnson's style and what he was creating in Transformers. And he really did impress me by the end of this. And I'm sad to see him go at this point. To where at the beginning, I was like, I'm a little nervous. I like Jorge Corona, but he doesn't look like Daniel Warren Johnson. And now that he's going, I don't want him to leave because he did it really, really well.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want him to leave. I mean, yeah, it's very rare when you get the second act. It's just as good as the first act on the art. And I'm not a big, truth be told, I'm not the biggest fan of Jorge Corona outside of Transformers. I think it's okay. It's not great. But yeah, he did a perfect job at more or less mimicking what Daniel Warren Johnson had done. And I loved it for it. And this is arguably like the best illustrated issue he has done, and probably in his whole career. And I love it. And I would love to have any of these original pages. They're beautiful. Now, what they're asking of us, I mean, to believe in a third act, for them to go for the hat trick, I don't know about that. We'll see what the third artist can be. If it's very rare where that happens, where the third act is just as good as the second or the first.
We shall see, but I'm a much bigger Jorge Corona fan than apparently you are, because next up we got another Jorge Corona book that is certainly his style that looks way different than Transformers. Ain't No Grave, number 5, Scotty Young writing, Jorge Corona on art. These two have worked together before, Middle West being like the biggest example out there. This kind of tragic tale of what used to be an outlaw. She finally settled down, found a husband. They started a family. She's about to die, and she decided to travel to Cyprus, and she finally meets up with Death. And they have their one-on-one confrontation. This is not the ending that I expected it to be. And when Death really calls her out for all the things and all the harm that she caused in her life, you knew she was an outlaw, but you didn't realize maybe how bad of an outlaw she was.
Yeah, I really didn't. And I didn't think Scotty Young was going to go there with it, and he did. So kudos to Scotty for doing that. It's very rare where you get females in fiction are given the chance to be that villainous today and to do acts like that heinous. And I got to give him props for that. And how Death is illustrated in this. And so one of my favorite B movies from the 80s is House 2, the second story. And there's a gunslinger in that film where Death in this book looks almost exactly like him from that film. And it is a stunningly beautiful character. And like you said, the showdown that the two have in the town, everything she does to him, she tries everything she's got, doesn't work. And yeah, it's a great ending to this book. This is a very beautiful book, guys. Check this out. This is this is like a sleeper indie book. And I really think more people should be checking this out. Yeah, Ain't No Grave. Great series.
Another one of those miniseries I didn't even realize it was, but that has come to an end. So hopefully we get some good stuff debuting very soon, or we ain't going to have much to talk about. We're definitely also going to recommend Geiger #6, Jeff Johns writing, Gary Frank on art. We've gotten to the big confrontation between the electrician and Geiger and Nate, the Atomic Knight, and Barney and all that stuff. I assumed that we were going to be moving on from there, but Barney is not right. Barney's not feeling very well, and he needed to go on a little solo adventure. I didn't expect this one, but I really did enjoy it. We have him end up going to like a local zoo where the animals might be a little bit different than you remembered them, and they're very scared of humans. And we do have the hunters show up, and Barney showing that he doesn't need Geiger. He doesn't need Nate to be a hero. He's a hero in his own right. And finally is able to overcome his anxieties and his own issues that were going on there by going out there and saving the day. It was good stuff.
Yeah, this is really good stuff. This issue probably, I'm going to say, has the most heart out of any of the Geiger books. Yeah, because like you said, we're following Barney. It's Barney's story. And it's a good chunk of this book where there's no dialogue. So really, it's up to Gary Frank to perfectly put on the page what needs to be captured emotionally as well as non-verbally to the reader. What's going on, what's happening, what are they feeling, what are the actions taking place? And he does a solid job with that. And if you're not an artist out there, and if you're not really accustomed to drawing animals regularly, it's very, very, very difficult. And I have to give Gary Frank all the props in the world for what he has to draw in this book, because he's drawing four-armed gorillas, he's drawing zebras, he's drawing rhinos, elephants. He's drawing a whole damn zoo in this book. And it is beautiful. It is nuts. And the twist ending with the zoo, like what it says on a sign, I loved it. It was great. I had put a big smile on my face. And yeah, this is a fun issue. One of my favorite issues of Geiger so far. Do check this out, guys.
Yeah, Geiger has been terrific, but everything at Ghost Machine has been terrific. We're about to get more of that, with the Peter J. Tomasi stuff. We got Hyde Street coming up. Cannot wait for that. We're also going to recommend Prodigy, Slaves of Mars #2, Mark Miller writing, Stefano Landini on art. We know who Edison is, and he's had everything taken away from him. At the very end of the first issue, he ended up with his brother that we didn't really know about, that was, smarter than Edison, had more potential than Edison, but eventually driven away by his father and has become essentially the black sheep of the family. Maybe he's like a drug dealer or something like that. He's a little bit more street smart than Edison, and that plays a big part in this one. There's an amazing moment when he shows off just how proficient he is in hand-to-hand and close quarters combat. That is a really cool moment. It almost reminded me of that Marky Mark like Hitman movie with Lou Diamond Phillips. Like there's a breakdancing like
the big
gun
hit.
scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was really, really cool. There's a lot of style to this book.
Yes, there is. And there's a lot of like true to life stuff in this book too, because these two are brothers. And the one who's more or less a pot dealer at this point, he was the older brother. And you really, you find out that the older brother, he had a lot of pressure put upon him when he was younger. Like he said, like he graduated from high school when he was 4, graduated from the college degree when he was 6. It's like, yeah, that's pretty damn impressive. That's a lot of pressure for a dad to put upon a kid. And he burned himself out. That's what happened. And you had Prodigy, our main character. He said he got a silver dollar from his dad. He's going to turn into $1 billion just to spite him. And he did. And yeah, there's a lot of great family stuff in this moment, in this book. And I truly appreciate that. And I love that. And like you said, the action in this is awesome. And we get more stuff with the stuff going on with Mars, the Martians who may have had a hand in Earth and the development of Earth. It's great stuff. And he's slowly building on the B and C plots, which will eventually be the A plots, I suspect, in subsequent issues. Do check this out, guys. Mark Miller, arguably the best in the business. Prodigy is another home run.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anybody out there quite like Mark Miller that can really do every single genre. Maybe a Jeff Johns, but even he's not quite as consistent as Mark Miller is these days. Absolutely great stuff. Now let's recommend my #1 comic book of the week, Space Ghost #5, David Pepos writing, Jonathan Lau on art. We've got Zorak, and he's a big, weird cult leader. He's trying to bring in, I don't know, some type of locust god with his horde of locusts into this world, and he needs Space Ghost to do it. There's a great moment where he says, Space Ghost says, if you lay one finger on the head of those children, I will end everything that you've ever been. And he's like, I won't lay a finger on them. you drop the knee right now, and he immediately does it because that's how much he actually cares about those kids. And we just get some great action in this one. And there's so much heart in this comic book to where when one of the children has to do something and they don't feel like they're heroes at the end of this thing. And it's just such a heartbreaking moment. And you could see why it had to happen. They had to have this reaction to it. And I'm absolutely blown away with what David Pepose has been able to do with Space Ghost. I didn't have any inclination that this would be in the running for best comic book of 2024. But this was my number one issue of the week, even better than Transformers 12, in my opinion. And it's definitely in the running for top 10 comic books of the year.
Yeah, this series, it really, because let's be honest here, we read his Punisher run. We were not impressed. And he goes from that to this. And yeah, he is just knocking it out of the park with Space Ghost. And Jonathan Lau on the art, Jonathan Lau is a kick-ass Space Ghost artist. Holy crap. He is amazing. And what you talk about, what happens to one of the characters in this book, yeah, it is a life, for anyone, it is a life-changing, altering moment. And really, it's just one of those moments where you have to live with that decision for the rest of your life. And you just got to get accustomed to it. But we'll see if this character can or not, because they're forever changed. And but yeah, what Space Ghost does, you see how much heart he has, how much he cares for the kids, because we don't really see it that much in the earlier issues, because he's kind of more of a tough guy, kind of like All-Star Batman. But yeah, you really do see how much he cares. And this book has so much more heart than I thought it would. It's just like a lot of the books this week. So much of these books have heart, and that's what gives me hope for these indie books in the future. Yeah, do check out Space Ghost, guys. If you're not familiar with Space Ghost, this is a great jumping on point.
Absolutely. I knew Space Ghost from coast to coast, never really knew the serial or the cartoons or anything like that. I came in here not really knowing much about the character, and I am absolutely in for the ride. I'll be here for a while. Next up, we do have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #2, Jason Aaron writing, Raphael Albuquerque on art, focusing in on one single turtle on the first 4 issues. This week, we get Michelangelo. You know what? We've seen Raphael in prison. We've seen Donatello basically being forced to like fight humans and stuff like that. This one, we actually get something somewhat upbeat. Michelangelo said, screw it. If we're going to break up the family, I'm moving to Japan, and I'm going to become the world's biggest kick-ass martial arts TV and like movie actor. And I thought that was a really cool concept. It was fun to play with. And then seeing that maybe despite all the acclaim and the money that comes along with that and everything, that Mikey still isn't happy because there's still something that he's missing. He's missing his brothers. I thought was really cool to bring that home. We get some more foot soldiers in here. And I was surprised how much I liked this one. I really love the concept of Michelangelo being, screw it, I'm going to Japan and I'm going to be a kung fu movie star.
Yeah, he pretty much turned into Jackie Chan at this point, and just kind of sold himself out. And he got very complacent and lazy. But like you said, be careful what you wish for. He gets what he was longing for from the past, and it doesn't work out too good for him throughout the book. But yeah, I did enjoy this. I was surprised how much I was going to enjoy it, because I had the lowest of low expectations for this, because yeah, it's Jason Aaron and it's an IDW book. But yeah, he managed to tell a good story. And I'm looking forward to checking out issue 3 now. Issue 3 should be a lot of fun too.
Absolutely. Did not expect that one to be so much fun, because it's been kind of depressing, everything that we've seen about TMNT thus far. This one's a little depressing, but not quite as much. Good fun there. Our final indie book, what we're going to recommend, this one comes mostly from you. Jonny Quest #2, Joe Casey writing, Sebastian Perez on art. You know, I grew up with some Jonny Quest in the background all the time, but it's not a character I'm too familiar with or too attached to. I read the first issue and it was perfectly fine, you know, bringing the Jonny Quest family into the modern times and kind of explaining that one. But this isn't an issue that I actually went out there and was able to read this week.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. The Quest family in modern day. And we have younger Johnny meets an older Johnny. And they unfortunately start discovering things that happened to the family, as well as what happened to Race, and as well as what happened to Haji, you know, as he got older. And like, things aren't good with all the characters in the future. In today's day, and maybe Professor Zen had a hand in that. We'll find out. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'm a big Jonny Quest fan. I grew up watching all the Jonny Quest episodes. I got the ringer on my phone, the theme song, and this comic book series really has nailed the heart of Jonny Quest, what I wanted in a Jonny Quest story. And if you like those Hanna-Barbera cartoons, do check this out. You will be very surprised how much fun this book is.
Absolutely. That will wrap it up for our coverage of indie books this week. I would love to recommend a Marvel book, and I was this close. I was so close to recommending Wolverine #1, but there are just a couple of things about it that aren't quite good enough, but you almost made it. But hang your head and shade, Marvel Comics. You got nothing worth recommending this week, although Wolverine is very, very close. From DC Comics, we do have Green Lantern #15, Jeremy Adams writing, Fernando Passarin on art. The only tie-ins that have been really good to the Absolute Power stuff, and that includes the miniseries and stuff. Jeremy Adams just kind of gets it. He's working with Hal Jordan. I love the idea that a Flash without their power set would be scared crapless on the back of a motorcycle with Hal Jordan because he's too freaking fast, too dangerous. And I also love the idea of Hal Jordan being like, screw it. I know where Batman's extra weird plane that had issues with it is. I'm going to fly that son of a bitch and see if I can save the day. It was a lot of fun. We did get the Sad Lantern here, but it's the best version of the Sad Lantern we've gotten so far.
Yeah, and real quick, back to Hal Jordan. If people forget, it's been a while. Hal Jordan, at his core, how he began, he was a test pilot for the Air Force, back in the 1960s, 50s, and 60s. I mean, test pilots, they got to have balls of steel to be doing that, going into an aircraft that may or may not explode. And that's what it makes sense to this character. Of course, he's going to fly it. Of course, he's going to want to fly it. He's got balls of steel. He's a test pilot. And I love what he does. And this book is so beautifully illustrated. Fernando Passarin, and he was on the Flash series for a while, but we need to see more of this guy. I don't know what he's been working on recently besides Flash in the past, but I mean, holy crap, we need more books illustrated like this. I need to see more of this guy because how he draws the ships, how he draws Hal, the Sad Lanterns, the actions, the emotions, it's beautiful. One of the best beautifully illustrated books DC has had in a very long time. What happens by the end of this book, I love it. I'm full on board. It's great to see Hal and another female character back again. We'll see how long that lasts. Yeah, this book has a lot of heart and arguably the best out of all the Absolute Power stuff going on right now. Do check out Green Lantern, guys.
And you're going to want to do that because we are working our way towards the Green Lantern Corps War. We're having like a Civil Corps War or something like that going on. They've been setting it up for about a year now. Going to be exciting stuff. And speaking of exciting stuff, TCM Press, you're working for them. Sparrow's going to be working for them. A lot of people that we know and love. There's going to be a big presentation at New York Comic Con. Exclusive covers, 3 new series. What do you got to say about this?
That's correct. From the owner of the comic mix, Stephen Finkel, comes TCM Press. I will be writing 3, count them, all 3 of the books for TCM Press. Silent Knights, which is our Femme Fatale series. We got Depths of Valor, which is our World War II action series. And we got Unholy Nightmare, my self-created series with Aurelia Mazzara, which is our superhero horror series. Each one is uniquely different. We got a title out there for anyone interested, something for everyone. Beautiful artists, Aurelia Mazzara, to Nate Watson, to Omar Zaldivar, Luis Zavala. You guys do not want to miss out on this, arguably the biggest indie series to come out later this year. All these books limited to 100 copies each. That is it in New York Comic Con. I'll be there with Aaron and Nate. Do not miss out, guys.
Definitely want to say thank you to Drew for running down the very best comic books of the week. Lots of fun, but once again, Indy's doing all the heavy lifting. If this isn't enough for you and you want more coverage of comic books every single week, even earlier than this, the Hot or Not podcast on Think Critical Patreon is the place to be. You support us in our mission here on YouTube, and we give you awesome podcasts and exclusive videos and polls in return. If you haven't checked that out, there's a link in the video description. You will not want to miss that awesome podcast.